we are going to talk about really interesting topic which falls under the whole Google conference, Google Developers Conference theme. So I think a lot of us, at least at some point, thought what it would be like to work for a company like Google, or Apple, IBM, Intel, all of those giants. And does it really fit the picture that we have in our heads? Well, I don't know. That's what we will be trying to research today with our honorable guests. And please welcome Google Developer Relations Manager David Ostrovsky. Thank you. And Javier Andal. I'm sorry if I misspelled your name. Oh, it's probably you. I have some trouble with yeah. Thank you for joining us. And the last but not least, Sviatoslav Komacha, thank you. He's the head of marketing at Google. Thank you for joining us. So, without further ado, let's start our show. No, you're not supposed to dance, but you could take a microphone. You might need it at some point. Yeah. Yeah. Turn it on. There's the button there. It works. Great. So I believe a lot of us heard those success stories when people get approached by Google representative and offered a dream job. And on the other hand, there are those countless guys that are trying to apply to work at companies like Google. And there's frustration and confusion and all those weird questions. So it would be interesting for us to hear your personal stories. Where did you come from? How did you end up working at Google or Intel? Maybe we'll start with Sviatoslav.
Okay, so Sviat, also I'm Sviat, and I have come from a village. But I was actually. I can actually speak loud without the microphone if you need one. So just use it. Yeah. I'm 3 years in Google, and I'm.
It's you. Well, we're still recording a podcast.
I'm guessing that just because it's the same Sviat name, so I think technology
Probably,
is been mixing us up, right?
Microphone confuses both of us.
And I'm actually responsible and overseeing all of the directions which we do in marketing, most of which is B2B, where we are working with small and medium businesses, helping them to develop and embrace the technology and also business solutions. But we also work with B2C, so-called, which is Google products for the users, which is a huge area of the products you probably use most of them, and we are making sure that those products are relevant on the market, and they are localized, they are properly launched, and then that basically users are also, they do know how to use them, and they do know how to get benefit out of it. I'm working in marketing already for 14 years. I'm graduate of Kyiv Mohyla Academy, and my career in marketing started in 1998 in Procter & Gamble. So I used to work for 4 years in P&G. My whole career before Google was not related to technology whatsoever. So I'm a so-called FMCG marketer, right? So I was doing diapers, I was doing the bleach, I was doing shampoo. So for 4 years I was working in Ukraine in P&G. Then I had 2 years out of Ukraine working in UK, and then working in Russia as well. And then after 4 years I have returned to Ukraine in a new company, which was Kraft Foods, which is again working with chocolates, coffee, chewing gum, everything you can imagine, and nothing which has a Wi-Fi or direct access to internet, right? But I was getting there. So for 9 years I was working again in a FMCG company, growing, and my recent last job was actually I was a marketing director in again working out of Kyiv for countries like Belarus, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, right? And then at some point of time, you also kind of, because you are a marketer, you're actually looking at what users are using, right? And you know how they're changing, how their life is changing, and how you basically, okay, I see your sign. That sign basically means they need to stop. So yeah, okay. And I realized basically that the new trend is digital, and I'm pretty much like missing it. So then the opportunity in Google popped up, and I've decided to take it on.
So the progress was diapers, chocolate, Gmail, right?
Pretty much, yes, yes.
Okay, and how did you end up working at Google? Were you approached by Google representative? Did you apply yourself?
I was actually referred by a colleague of mine, actually one of my former subordinates who I hired, and she was working, she's Ukrainian, she's working abroad now, and she told me, we were chatting again over an internet now, and she told me, listen, there is this great opportunity, would you be interested? I said, yeah, why not? And then we started to talk with the, with the team of recruiters and so on, and it took me about 5 months and about 6 interviews and so on and so forth. And actually, at start it was like an interest. So okay, Google is an interesting company. Digital is of an interest for me. But would I be able to go through all of those kind of consecutive interviews and so on? And then at the end, the more I started to embrace it, the more I became excited that this is an opportunity which I should miss.
As non-technical person, was the interviewing process any different from software engineers? Maybe you've heard some stories of what people went through.
Yes, I think so. Overall, the interviewing process, I think, is quite unified in terms of the approach, right? But from function to function, people do focus on different areas and different skills. Because obviously, I mean, it would be funny or if I would not understand like basic technology or how to use Gmail. But I think I had to prove also the skills in terms of business analytics, how you work with the data, how you work with the marketing instruments, how you do understand the branding. So it's a skill of mostly of the marketing function, right? And I think guys would be able to tell more about engineering. Obviously, I cannot code, right? And it's visible now. I cannot turn on the microphone properly, so it's. But I mean, I don't necessarily need it in my job. But I think what's essential, you do need to understand technology. You need to use it on a day-to-day basis. You need to understand how your users are using that, and that's something which you need to show at the interviews. But I think you also need to learn very fast. It's a huge learning curve, which was for me as well. Yeah. That's why I actually joined Google, because I do believe that I'm missing on that train, and I do want to catch up. So I want to be a marketer of the future, not of the past. And digital is the future of the marketing as well.
So how many years have you been working there?
At Google?
Yeah.
3 years now.
Oh.
In September, end of September, it's been 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Javier?
Hi. Miss Rose. Sorry.
This actually works.
Yeah, thank you for fixing it. We always need marketing guys somewhere. No, that's also true. No, not just for microphone. Sorry. So I'm developer evangelist at Intel. I'm working in France because I'm from there and I don't want to work anywhere else. Got family and so on. So I'm working there for 2 years and a half. I'm developer evangelist, so I'm working with developers like you.
Microphones don't like us today.
So I help developers ready to optimize their code so it runs better on our platforms. So developers of Android application, of Android frameworks and others. And Android is my main focus, so on all of the devices, but we have Intel CPUs inside, so phones, tablets, and also soon devices like the Nexus Player, Android TV.
Oh, and what did you do before? Before the whole era of mobile kicked in?
I'm born at Intel.
Oh, really?
No, more seriously, so the whole story, but I'm short,
Okay.
is I created my company when I was 16. It was a discussion forum on the internet. And it was so long before I finished my studies, and I always liked to code for a very, very long time, and also to destroy my parents' PC or things like that, but I was able to rebuild it after, so that's fine. And I went to engineering school, quite classic, not a really big one, but I was really successful in it, so majoring, because I was really putting hard efforts in it and trying to do interesting side projects, interesting to me, but still objectively interesting. And then I wanted to work at a company like Intel in France, because such giant companies, so American companies, I think in countries like in France, they really have a plan for developers. Because myself as a developer, I was looking at all the companies that were recruiting in France, and I wasn't really happy about what career path they were proposing. And looking at the American companies, I think they value a lot more developers' work compared to the others in France, actually. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but that's the case in France, in my view. So I participated to a parallel programming contest in C and C++. I got a respectable position, third, not first, but still that was enough. So you don't necessarily need to be the best in one topic. And I saw a job proposal on Twitter, and I contacted the guy, and it was for an internship at this time because I hadn't finished yet school. And I went in, I organized the parallel programming contest that was after, so I was on the other side this time. It worked really well, and I looked for a job internally, still in France. I found a job, it was in Munich. I didn't want to go to Munich, so we got internal fights, so the job finally moved back to Paris, so I could take it, and I still got it.
So basically your entire professional career was based in Intel, in one single company?
Not at 16.
Okay.
Yeah, from 3-4 years ago, that was the plan. Yeah, when I started engineering school and started to look at what I want to do next.
Okay, thank you, David.
Let's see how it works for me. Okay, so I work in Kraków in Poland and as a program manager in the developer relations team. And I'm responsible for promoting Google technology among developers in Poland, in Ukraine, in Belarus, Baltic states. That's it so far. I kind of sold Romania and Bulgaria to my colleague from Prague. I'm 2.5 years at Google, and before that I was a Java freelancer. So actually I started programming in 4th grade, AC Logo, I don't know if you have tried this. Then I switched to Turbo Pascal, then to Delphi, then to Visual Basic, then to, I don't know what else, the web technologies, I believe, and then to Java. Actually, with AC Logo, I made my first money on programming, which I'm very proud of. And yeah, I used to work, I graduated from University of Science and Technology in Kraków, which actually the Polish name is University of Mining and Metallurgy, so really hardcore stuff, heavy industry, low level. And after I graduated, I went on my first contract for IBM, and I was in Stuttgart, Germany. Then I moved to northern Germany, to USA, then to Netherlands, then to Belgium when I was starting PhD, which I didn't finish. And then I came back to Poland and there was this opportunity at Google.
How? It was like get off the plane and there's an opportunity? How did it happen with you?
Well, I was very close to Google Technologies for long, and I was one of the GTAC organizers, so GTAC were before GDGs even. So I was very close to those technologies, and I had friends who actually worked at Google in Kraków when I was traveling around Europe. And at some point, my colleague, she told me that, oh, there is this opportunity, there is this position open, so why don't you apply? So I did apply, and just after 3 phone calls and 5 live interviews, I'm there.
It was just a brief.
Yeah, it took some time.
Couple of months of work, probably.
Couple of months, yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously, these giants, big companies, their PR and marketing departments doing really well, making out of the company this hot chick that everyone wants to sleep with. But is it really fitting the picture? So you've been working there for a while, and you can compare your before impression Oh, Javier likes the joke. You can compare. You can make it a pickup line in a bar. I think it will work. So you have this before, during the hiring process, and after impression that I guess developed over time. Did it match? Did your vision of what the company is like match before you got into it, or maybe something changed?
No. No, I think it's been an interesting relationship development, if you put it this way. But I got married because before I got to the job, so this job doesn't apply to me. I think when you start and you consider an employment, right, you typically pursue your own interest and motivation in an ideal way, right? So my case was, okay, I want to develop marketing skills in digital. There is a great new whole market like global economy and so on. So who are major players over there where I can benefit, right? And Google was very natural, pop up out of there. Then you start to learn about the company, and yes, the company is really, has a great reputation, and I think it sticks to it, to this reputation when you get to it. And then when you start talking to the people, I think when this is getting more and obviously, and then the people really got me excited because they were, interesting, open. They were very challenging, and they were really putting me to the edge of my knowledge and boundaries. So I really understood that I would be able first to benefit something, this is my knowledge, but I also would be able still to learn a lot. That's a very important thing for me. When I get into the job, my relationship development was like, oh, what a mess. And then, oh, this is so overwhelming. And then, this is interesting. And it's like, oh, I'm like probably starting to understand that. And then, oh, this is like first result. And the first result probably came like about 6 months after I started. So the 6 months are typically, for me, they've been like the most difficult, because my learning curve has to be so dramatic. Right, because I came from a bit different industry and so on. I was kind of ready to it, but I was like semi-ready to it. So like first half a year I was like, oh, maybe I made a mistake. I was enjoying so much my old marketing and so on. So, but the other thing is that at that point of time you also realize how you understand how the company works inside, and what a great people are surrounding you who are ready to help. And I got like my buddies from other countries who were helping me out not to drown and to perform. I had my manager, and then again it's all about people. And then you see how the culture works, how people are there. So many different teams who are working on different projects and so on. At the moment you start understanding, you figure out how it works, and you are being able to contribute, and you see the result. I think result is very important, at least for me. You see the result, then again it's become very exciting, right? So that's my kind of cycle of relationship. So it's been, and I think I'm up to it. I do love what I do at Google. I mean, it's been 3 years. I can now deliver, and I know what I was able to contribute. But what's more important, to contribute not only to Google as a company. I think the big opportunity and big benefit working at a company like that is that it actually, with its work, it helps you to contribute to your country, to global economy by far. But I came with a big motivation that there is something which is also, I can help more within the new role, like to Ukrainian users, to Ukrainian businesses, to government, to communities, like to education and so on. And this has been a great fun, yeah. So and I think that's the big deal in the companies like Google. I can't say for others because I don't have experience, because it's really when there is a good match of the values and the culture of the company you are getting into, and something which you kind of created for yourself as a big motivation of yours, right? This is about personal mind experience, but this has been big for me. When I do a decision, so my 14 years is like 3 companies, right? So it's typically in 14 years you get much more. So it's 4 years, 9 years, now it's 3 years, and I still hope it's going to be longer. It really works out when you find a place and a community of people who share similar values, and I think Google is a good one at that.
So you came to the company seeking new challenges within the new industry for yourself, but you have discovered a mission of a lifetime, maybe?
I can say it's a mission of lifetime. I don't really like, if you ask me what I want to achieve in life, it's a tough question, right? So it's not like for 5 minutes discussion, but
Sure.
I think there's been a number of matches over there which I post-rationalized for myself as well, because you don't necessarily kind of, you are not often smart enough to predict everything which is going to happen with you, right? So there's been a consequent number of things. First is a conscious decision. Second is a good chance and consequences, number of consequences which happened me to get into this opportunity. But two things. The first one is really, I got a bit stale in my previous job in terms of development, although I do love marketing, I do love FMCG marketing. So it's a development. Second one, it's an opportunity to contribute more, giving back more through what company does to society. And these are two things.
Thank you. Javier?
Say. To be more serious, well, before entering Intel, so I did some interviews there, so I knew there were some doors where it's written staff only and no enter. So I was really curious and trying to imagine what was behind the doors. And I was really, my imagination was something really well organized. Everyone knows what he's doing with really fixed tasks. And I arrived, and so I was hired, and I was waiting to receive some tasks, and nothing was really well organized as I thought, and really the human part, it was something I didn't expect that was so much important. And so a big part of the job is really to communicate with other teams and so on, because at Intel we are more than 100,000, and no one is going to keep a wiki up to date with what everyone's doing. No one will do that. So everyone's still working, and 100,000, it's an army, it's more than that. So everyone is working on projects, and it's really complicated and important to know a bit what is happening and how do you fit in that picture. And that was, I think, I also needed like 6 months to be able to navigate.
Well, if Google is a company, a mecca to web developers, I always imagine that Intel is the same deal for hardware developers. And in my imagination, there's an image of the Cartoon Network show called Dexter Laboratories. And when you walk into the office, there's all weird mechanisms and stuff like that. Scientists trying to find a solution to a conundrum. Does it match the real picture in any way?
At Intel, you can work in several different places. I'm not working in a fab, so with all that amazing stuff. But anyway, all the process now it's down to 14 nanometers, so not much things to see. And Dexter would be in I don't know if you know, but a bunny suit. So it's all white suit, so because you need not even to have one particle that's not allowed in the building. You don't have your badge, no.
Not to confuse with the Dexter Maniac guy. That's a different TV show. Yes.
It's also clean work.
It is. It is. David?
Before I joined Google, I had the impression that Google is a bunch of strange geniuses working together, and after I joined, it's like I have the impression it's a bunch of geniuses and me. So yeah, and behind the scenes, I thought I saw those big projects, great tools, great products for people like Gmail and so on. I was really surprised how few people work on that. Actually, I mean, we have, I don't know how many people we have, like 50,000 in total, maybe 25 is engineers, but I mean, it's not like thousands of people are working on those big things.
Yeah, according to Wiki, it's about 55,000 people all over the world.
We are hiring.
They are hiring.
Yeah. And did your impression of the company change over time? So what did you think about Google before you joined them?
Well, it didn't change that much. I thought it's a little bit more organized in the way that I would expect from the big corporation. So all these talks about like how we are still startup, we are in that many places we are. And I think we shouldn't be anymore. I mean, I think I wouldn't mind if we were a little bit more corporate-y at the moment. But yeah, it's a great company to work with. I like the one thing which I really like is you should rather ask for forgiveness rather than for permission, which gives you some freedom to try new things.
I've known a few people from Microsoft and Google as well, and they all seem to have the same opinion that the hardest part is to get into the company. But inside the company, the atmosphere is way more relaxing and the processes are less demanding than in outsourced industry, for instance. Was that true in terms of your experience?
Interesting. I wouldn't say it's less demanding. It's we have a lot of freedom, but on the other hand, we have a lot of responsibility. So it's I used to work like, I was paid per hour or per day, so I know how it is to describe every hour of your work when you're a contractor or a freelancer. And right now it's totally different. Like I'm begging my boss to have a meeting with me every second week if he has time. It's like this. I mean, I'm running those markets, those countries here. I'm responsible for outcomes. But no one changes what time do I get to work, what time do I leave, what actually would I do. No one tells me, you should go to Ukraine for DevFest. No, it's like up to me if I should go there, if I should sponsor it or not. It's all on my head, right?
So counter to popular belief, Google is not a golden cage for developer. It's more of a national park.
Yeah, it's like your own national park. Yeah, imagine, I'm alone in my team in Poland, and actually in the region my nearest colleague is in Prague, the next nearest colleague is in Milan. Of course we get together from time to time, but it's a lot of personal work. Of course I do work with GDGs, which is great. I work with Google Developer Experts, but I need to create those teams from scratch.
Okay. Well, giant companies are well known for creating kind of a Disneyland for software engineers out of office environments. So there's plenty of free food, free snacks, plenty of couches to lie on and watch YouTube. But what actually makes working at a company like Google or Intel fun? Is it perks, challenges, money, prestige, massage?
Do I start again?
Sure.
Okay. So I think first I'm working out of Kyiv office, which is a quite relatively small office. But I think, and it's been 3 years, so now at least I can actually look back and say, is it fun or not? And yes, it is fun mostly. What motivates me, and I will be talking for me, and I'm working in marketing function, so it's it's my personal experience. I think I started here in marketing as a first person, so I've been one, right? So one thing is, it's a great motivation to see the results, right? And the first one is see how your team is growing, how the office is growing, which basically means that that Google do believe in Ukraine and it's actually develops. And now I got a team in marketing. Andriy was presenting to you today some of the cases. So that's one thing. The second one, you can also realize that how many things when you look back has been done as well, right? And that's what also motivates you a lot. And the third one is that how many things you've been able to learn as well. And it's much less about bags, because in smaller offices you don't really have them much. But what you have there is really, at what David was saying, is really an independence and this entrepreneurial spirit. Because as much as the whole result is yours, because you need to deliver results, and that's true. But you also have quite a lot of flexibility and independence to define what you want to focus on, right? So beyond that on top of that result, you can basically say that these are the areas which we believe are important, for instance, for my market. And you can pursue that within this huge company like Google and do it, right? And then on top of that, the fun is all yours, right? So, and we really have a lot of fun with the markets, but it's, again, for me, it's really about people, because, you know, you can have fun with the people, you can have a flexibility of working arrangement, because you can work this day out of Kiev office, then, you know, next day I'm in Minsk, then I'm in Almaty, then I'm in Warsaw, and now I'm in Lviv, and in meanwhile I'm checking my emails. So I think it's a combination of things, but most of all, I do believe in the motivation out of results, and when you get results, there is plenty of fun around it as well. And it's great that you also have a team to share this fun with. Not virtual one, but the real one.
Thanks. Career?
Yeah, I'm lucky not to work for free foods because, as we said, we've got small offices, and the perks are maybe not the one you can find in Googleplex or Intel's mobile ship in Santa Clara. And well, what I really like is whenever you've got a good idea and you're ready to push for it internally, you can get the resources and be able to just make it happen. Also, when I see a product using Intel chips or anything, I kind of feel I've been a part of it. And of course, if I wasn't there, maybe the product would still have been there. That's quite obvious, but still, it's cool to be part of it.
And what is the fun for you, Aaron? So what is, for you, fun about working at Intel?
Fun is, yeah.
Solving riddles?
Got nice video, I would like to show about it later if we've got time. We've got the whole recruitment campaign long time ago, and it was all about an engineer in a clean room writing equations on a whiteboard, then leaving to grab a coffee, and another colleague coming inside the room and just erasing a plus and putting a minus instead. And then, no, an engineering colleague. And then the colleague who grabbed the coffee come back, and it was all big with equations everywhere, and directly saw the minus and was just laughing really hard. It was so fun for him. And,
yeah, that's one of the most famous, I would say, commercials of Intel.
yeah.
But I prefer the one with the robot. The robot is really cute. Almost like a Wall-E.
That defines more the way I can work and laugh with colleagues.
So for you, it's people and challenges.
Yep.
Okay. David?
For me, I got most fun out of working with community. This is normal. I mean, Google didn't make a very good decision of hiring me because I was doing the same for free before, so, in my free time. So I hope no one listens to that. But it's really like working with community, with people. That's what really empowers me to do more. But also this feeling, like Sviat said, like having this feeling that you actually, with all those people in those countries in the region, you can accomplish some providing. To your work. So I could do the same thing, being not being at Google, but probably the impact wouldn't be as big as it can be now.
Yeah. So basically, for all of you, it's just a rewarding experience.
I like massages too.
Who doesn't?
And as you can see, I'm a big beneficiary of free food.
And snacks.
And snacks.
Well, you've heard our guests. Are there any people that would like to work at Google? Could you please raise hands? Ban them all. These people are too needy. never apply to Google. Okay, so we've shared our thoughts about what it's like to work at a company like Google and at Intel and any other giant. I feel that experiences are similar across all companies. But a lot of people dream it's their desire to work at a company like that. Sometimes even for just a stupid reason of changing your status on Facebook and imagining the face full of confusion and angriness of your past high school and university mates when they stare at the glory of your success. But how do you feel about people that apply to Google, and who would you recommend to work at a company like that? For whom this is the right path to go with, and for whom it is not?
Well, this is probably the most difficult question you have asked, but I will try to answer that in a way that first of all you need to decide it for yourself, and it's like listen to your heart, to your head, or whichever, whether what do you want to do in your life, right? Before coming to Google or any other company. That's very important. I've done so many interviews, and don't do this, please don't do this for the status in the Facebook or even in Google Plus. It's not going to help you at the interviews, right? But I often ask at the one of the questions which I personally ask at the interview. So what is this? What is it that you want to do in your life, like mid-term to short-term, and how you think, Google, so why you are here, why you want to apply for Google, right? And I think, that's my answer. Try to think and answer those questions for yourself, because until you actualize it for yourself, Google will be just a nice, big, international giant company or a brand for you. Likewise, will be Intel or Facebook or anybody else. If you do have a dream, or if you want to achieve something, ultimately, if you want to change the world, if you want to solve a problem, or that's something which is the important thing. And then, when you understand that, then you go and see and try to understand what is Google doing, right? What is this? What is the company doing? What projects is it running? Is it something which rings the bell for you, or is it just a big, nice brand name of 5 letters, right? Only that will give you an answer for whether you should be applying for that or not. It's definitely worth a try, but you need to do your homework before. That was my experience. That's what I would advise to anyone. So I can't tell exactly whether you should be applying like straight away, but if you want to, make sure that you know why.
Thanks, David. Oh, career.
I think still a brand can stay good motivation, and you really need to know what you want to do, and also it's also a good interview question is what can you bring to the company? Why you are just the over 600 people who apply for the same job? And it's not an easy question, but you need to have a good answer for this. So what makes you a bit different? Not necessarily better, but different than the other applicants. And so, for example, in my case, I created a company when I was young, and that's a good point. You can also work on side projects. I mean, everything you can do right now, like contributing to projects on GitHub, and that's a really good resume you can give to any employer. If you can find a way to be able to contribute on GitHub. If you're working for a private company, that's not always possible.
Thank you. David?
At Google, we have this notion of Googliness, which describes the person, no matter if it's engineer or the marketing person or works in sales. And I don't know if it's well defined, but it's somewhere in between, like the person who walks the extra mile, who is not necessarily nice to you, but the person who is honest, definitely, and who is able to work on the greater goal of the group. So we really, it's like a cultural fit. So we try to measure that also during the interview. So definitely, if you are doing the open source, if you are doing some community work, if you are an active member of developers community, it helps. Definitely, it can help. I'm not saying it's like it will directly put you at Google, but it can help. And yeah.
Sure.
But just to add something more, it's also important, I think, to show that you can do more than just one task. You need to really be flexible and good in whatever task you will be asked to do. Not anything, but still things that make sense. I think that's very important. But you need to prove that you can be really good and trusted.
But briefly.
Okay. Well, I can say very quickly and very concretely about developers. So normally we look for those general programmers. So no, we don't have like separate people for databases or front end, back end. It's right now it's starting to be a differentiate, but it's not very often differentiated. So you should be a good programmer, very good at solving skills. We don't look for particular language. You should be able to switch languages or learn new languages. And yeah, really like solving skills, algorithms and stuff like this, being able to solve big problems, that's what we are looking for if we are want to hire software engineers.
Thanks. I came up with this lame joke for a reason, because a lot of us have problems with self-conscious, and we're not always honest with each other. Why we have those desires, and do they really match with our priorities? So I would personally like to wish you be honest with yourself, and always try to verify the path that you are going with, and whether it's Google, a startup, or a different company. Just make sure that this is a path for you, and you're not just trying to project different people's wishes on yourself and fulfill some social role. Just be honest with yourself, and that's a life advice, and I think it would work in a lot of different ways. Thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you on our show. And thank you for being such a great audience and keeping in touch and not leaving the show. If you are interested in our content, please make sure to visit our website and follow us on all social networks and SoundCloud and iTunes. And until next time, bye-bye. Yeah, we done.